In Wrath of the Lich King, you have some classes that require complex weak auras, or a whole array of add-ons, buff tracking, externals from other classes, and a wide variety of intricacies to play. And then you have the specs that provide equal performance, or close to equal performance, whilst being much simpler to use. Today we're going to talk about what I consider to be the top 3 easiest specs to play in Wrath of the Lich King. Now remember, we're not talking about highest performance, we're talking about rotations being simple, general mechanics of the class being foolproof. Elemental is one of those specs that seems like it could be complicated. Totems, dot tracking, procs. Instead, Shaman is one of the easiest and most relaxing classes to play in Wrath of the Lich King. It offers a simple rotation throughout most of the expansion. Maintain Flame Shock, keep Lava Burst and Chain Lightning on cooldown, and fill with Lightning Bolt. Mana issues may require the occasional Thunderstorm, and please make sure you glyph it so you're not accidentally yeeting people off the map, and you may even need to use the occasional Mana Potion. That is, in essence, the rotation of an Elemental Shaman. When it comes to AoE as an Elemental Shaman, it really is as simple as using Chain Lightning, which offers huge cleave potential, and then your AoE comes from the burstiness of Fire Nova paired with Magma Totem. Both Magma Totem and Fire Nova on cooldown will offer consistent AoE damage. Throughout the expansion, Elemental Shaman follows a similar trend to what it did in TBC. They start incredibly strong going into Nax and really are a contender for number 1 DPS spot, despite the simple rotation. They, however, do fall off, and they fall off pretty hard as they go through the expansion, being middle of the pack by the time you reach ICC. There really are minimal changes to the rotation as the expansion progresses through the phases, and the tier sets typically just enhance the general feel of the spells. So why play an Elemental Shaman? We've talked about just how simple and easy they are to feel comfortable on. Positioning and your caster's ABCs, which means always be casting, will increase your uptime and DPS significantly. Reincarnation allows you the very unique ability to rewind a fatal mistake and come back to life. Bloodlust or Heroism, depending on whether you're Horde or Alliance, is a staple in groups, and Resistance and Cleansing Totems bring huge utility to your raid. All in all, the class feel is the Elementalist, wielding both Flame and Lightning to strike foes, and I think aesthetic alone will get people playing this class. Next up, in terms of easiness, and please try not to laugh at the one-button macro that's been flying around for the past, 15 years? The Ret Paladin. Ret has various levels of skill to it. At a simple level, Ret follows a priority system of abilities. In short, Judgment's your highest priority skill, and therefore, as soon as it comes off cooldown, it becomes your highest priority to use. Consecration is one of your lower priority skills. You still want to use it, and you still want high uptime, but not at the risk of sacrificing judgments. This means, all in all, whilst it doesn't follow a traditional rotation, Ret doesn't have a complex rotation by any means. It does have the potential for some fanciness in terms of min-maxing DPS. Correct seal choice for the fight can influence DPS quite heavily, and keeping up that Seal of Vengeance on multiple targets if it's a 2 to 3 target fight can be very rewarding. And of course, things like positioning, so you're hitting as many targets as possible with Divine Storm, using Avenging Wrath just before a judgment to ensure maximum usages. But they're all small things that will make a difference to your DPS, but not massively to the point where you need to be able to do all of these things exactly right, or you're going to be useless. Rets are not only one of the easiest specs, but specifically easiest melees, where bad positioning can quickly see your DPS being punished. Spells like Hammer of Wrath, Judgment, and Exorcism having a higher than melee range means maintaining uptime isn't hard. Lay on Hands and Bubbles allow Ret to either ignore mechanics entirely or recover from a near fatal mistake. Ret's skill in raids is not typically shown on a DPS meter, of which they will feel pretty lackluster until around TOC or ICC phases, but by the utility they bring to the raid and how well they use it. Maximising all of the utility Rets have is what gives some degree of difficulty to the Paladin spec. So in terms of being that really extra useful Paladin who's using all of his abilities, there can be some complexity. But in terms of just playing the basics of the class to actually do DPS in a raid, they are one of the easier DPS specs to play. Next up is the Assassination Rogue. So the Assassination Rogue on a simple level has a very basic rotation. Maximising uptime on bosses to maintain poison, then 2 buffs to maintain in the form of Hunger for Blood and Slice and Dice, which is easily maintained through combo point spending, and then keeping Envenom buff active for as long as possible. In AoE, Assassination Rogue is easy as well. On 5 targets, a simple fan of knife spam to get poisons on everything allows for great success. On less targets, rotate through and keep poisons on as many as possible, maintaining the single target rotation. Assassination Rogues are a steadily high DPS spec that has top of the chart peaks in DPS, being exceptionally good in tier 7. The complexity of Assassination Rogue comes in two forms, utilising Rogue's endless cooldown arsenal to maintain as close to 100% uptime on bosses as possible. Secondly, knowing and understanding the concept of energy pooling. This is when you allow energy to recharge outside of an envenom in the effort to quickly reapply another application of the buff to make sure you've got enough energy to actually use multiple mutilates. And of course, maintaining uptime on the envenom buff is extremely important. But overall, rotation-wise, you're only pressing 2 or 3 buttons and literally staring at an energy bar. There isn't that much involved. In fact, when people ask me on stream, what is the easiest class to play? Assassination Rogue is one that I very often reply with. The thing is with the Assassination Rogue, even if you're playing it badly, your damage is still going to be very, very good. I would argue a bad Assassination Rogue will be able to out-DPS most other classes and specs that are actually being played fairly well. So why play an Assassination Rogue aside from its simplicity to perform well? Rogue has the true bag of tricks to deal with most scenarios. The boss moves, quickly sprint to the boss. The boss casts a spell you need to avoid, you've got Cloak of Shadows. The group wipes and you want to avoid the repair cost, vanish. Rogues are literally the definition of versatility. You get everything we've mentioned before and the fact that you can maintain massive single target DPS. Your only downfall will sometimes be smaller group AoE. I was just going to leave it at the top 3 easiest specs to play, but I also want to give you some honourable mentions, because all we've spoke about is DPS. If you want a tank and you want to play the easiest tank spec, the Bear Druid would be my suggestion. With a simple swipe, maul, mangle, lacerate, damage kit, Bears offer a very simple way to get into tanking. Their mitigation often comes from exceptionally large health pools and just brute forcing their way through content. This means someone looking for an easy or simple time may find not having to plan cooldowns on a Bear very relaxing. That's not to say that you haven't got cooldowns. You've got cooldowns in the form of Survival Instincts and Bark Skin, but you really are a big meat shield. But due to the simplicity of your rotation or your abilities that you've actually got, paired with the fact that your threat is just exceptionally good on both single target and you can hold your own on AoE, you have plenty of time to think about those cooldowns. A Bear can clear all content and are seen equivalent to or slightly above prot warriors in the tank rankings. They have a 1-button AoE threat in swipe, and as for single target, you're stacking 5 lacerates using mangle and mauls, and you'll be top threat for the entire fight. The complexity of the spec, if you are looking to try and expand your capabilities as a Bear, comes in the form of shifting. So going cat for phases when you don't need to tank, a tranquility or off healing during particularly heavy healing phases, a battle res on a fallen teammate. It's all of these things that you react to or you plan in advance that will make you shine, but in terms of just easiness to play, the Feral Tank is an easy one. And then if you wanted to play a healer, I would say the Holy Paladin is the easiest healer to play. This spec, specifically the Holy Light version, it offers high efficiency, powerful healing with practically nothing else to worry about. High mana management with Seal of Wisdom and Divine Plea, Beacon and Sacred Shield offer awesome tank stability, and Wings really does turn Holy Paladin into a powerhouse. Again, similar to the Ret Paladin, the Holy Paladin needs to learn how to use the full range of kit and the utility that you've got to truly master the spec, but as a basic level, Holy Paladin can pump with minimal effort. So if you've been scared, and I always say this, if you've been scared of trying to get into healing, you've never healed before, you want to go healer in Wrath, I think a Holy Paladin is a good choice. There are complexities to it, and there's things you'll learn along the way that will make you better than the Holy Paladin next to you, but on the surface, you can do very, very good healing without trying particularly hard. If you enjoyed this list, be sure to like and subscribe for lots more content, not just min-maxing content. We like some of this casual, what's fun content as well on the channel. There's a lot of PvP stuff coming soon as well, which I'm quite excited about. So yeah, check out Rested XP as well in the link in the description and in the pinned comment, and roll the outro. There's lots of ways you can support the channel to keep me here putting out World of Warcraft content and covering all future MMOs. Consider joining the channel as a member. You get access to emotes, everyone will know you're a member when you comment on future videos because you get a nice icon next to your name, and you get access to members-only videos, which I'll be putting a lot of on the channel throughout the year. Additionally, there's a Patreon link in the description as well. Thank you for watching all the way to the end, and I'll see you on the next one.